Hey ladies, welcome back to Monday night's education series. So tonight we are talking about protein and fiber and why protein and fiber matter more than cutting your calories. So especially when we're thinking about and looking at the perspective of dropping body fat and getting toned, right? So there's a very big difference between just focusing on the protein and fiber and then also cutting the calories. So we're going to kind of break down what this all looks like and what it means to you as well. So firstly, your focus should shift away from just eating less to focusing more on eating smart. And again, this is typically where most people will think, oh, I need to lose weight. Let me just slash my calories. The unfortunate thing is that'll only end up in failure most of the time. And the reason being is that, yes, cutting calories may work. However, it's going to be at a cost and it's going to be at a cost to you, right? So you've still got to work, manage your family life, your social life, everything, right? And work and careers as well. I think I've mentioned that. But what happens as a result of slashing and cutting calories drastically is you will end up with low energy, your hunger gets massively increased, and there are potential risks to muscle loss. And then, obviously, following cutting the calories drastically, getting the result, you then end up with rebound weight gain. And so, this is why typically we get the deficit to a point that you can manage. And again, it might not be at the rate that you want it to happen, but it's really important that if we want this to stick and we want it to be a sustainable process that's occurring, that we offset any of that sort of rebound weight gain. Otherwise, what was the point? And this is obviously where we would talk more in terms of reverse dieting and working towards your maintenance, etc. But the main point of this call is just to make you realize that you don't need to eat less, you just need to eat better. And I'm going to prove why. So, firstly, what does protein do for you? Again, repeating myself lots and lots on these calls, but yes, you are going to, and also telling you the obvious, you're going to build and protect your lean muscle. It's so, so important, ladies, especially as we get older, we can suffer muscle loss, and we don't want to increase the chances of the risk of something called sarcopenia that happens later in life as well, generally with older people. Muscle isn't just there to look good, but it's also there to protect your future, especially in those older years. So you're banking it now. Protein is also great because it's going to help increase your fullness and satisfaction. And yeah, you are going to be burning more calories during digestion because protein has a thermic effect, meaning that although when we think about calories matched per macros, so per 1 gram of protein, you have 4 calories, and per 1 gram of carb, you have 4 calories. The difference being is that protein, you utilize it better, it has a higher thermic effect, whereas with carbs, they also pull in and create that additional water pull as well. 3 to 4 grams of water that it makes you retain. And then ultimately, protein is going to just be really important for the other bodily functions that we often forget about. So things like supporting your hormonal recovery or your hormones and your actual recovery from stress and training. And one thing that's often overlooked is your immune function. So when somebody is in hospital, quite often we bring them fruits and veggies, which is obviously great because you want to kind of bring some good micronutrients and stuff. Now, obviously, that's important. However, immune function, so protein being responsible for immune function, it's actually not a bad idea to show up with a bag of protein powder believe it or not. Okay, so I want you to also think about protein as the bricks to build your body. And so it's important to note that without them, you are going to be tearing down. So with your stimulus, with your training, etc., without no rebuild. So it's really important that we kind of hold on to that. So I've got a couple of quotes here from Dr. Lane Norton. Fat loss, so an expert in this area, fat loss without muscle retention is just shrinking, right? And then we have another professor, Bill Campbell. So studies show that women who increased protein during fat loss actually preserved more lean muscle mass. So these are direct quotes from these leading experts. And Professor Bill Campbell has actually done some studies on this as well and some research. Okay. And coming on to fiber. So fiber is overlooked, underrated, but it's really important to know that fiber is going to add roughage. It's going to help slow down the digestion. It's going to improve your blood sugar control. It adds something called food volume without adding extra calories. So especially when we're thinking about veggies and we're thinking about building a larger plate. Let's say, for example, with a whole cucumber, you're adding in volume there, so fiber and actually water as well within the cucumber. And I think off the top of my head, it's probably only about 10 calories. So you can already see that the fullness that kind of relates to just increasing fiber there. Probably not the best, suggestion there, but or example and supports regular digestion as well. So it's really important to think about this, especially when we're thinking about things like bloating. So you'll have less bloating when we are considering fiber. Quite often, when people experience bloating, especially if there's no like clinical diagnosed issue there, and technically the bloating is occurring because there's a bit of a mismatch in terms of the amount of hydration you're getting and the fiber as well. Fiber again is going to help. Yeah, it's going to help you go. So yeah, boosts fullness as well, and because of that, we can create some long-term adherence too. So I thought this was quite a nice quote as well. Fiber is the broom and the buffer. It cleans up and keeps things moving. And then we have another great expert here. So most people need more food volume, not less. So it's another reason why eating more and not eating less is key here. So fiber is going to be the key to satiety. That's your fullness. And so here's just a quick table on some of the things that we might look at in terms of incorporating that sort of protein and fiber focus, thinking about that in comparison to just going for a low calorie diet. So, what tends to happen if you go for a low calorie diet, your hunger is going to be increased. Whereas when you start adding in the protein and fiber focus relative to the appropriate amount of calories that you should be having, you're going to help satisfy you. Okay. And then in terms of your mood, low calorie diet, you're going to be irritable. Protein and fiber can help you feel more stable. And muscle on a low calorie diet, you're not just dropping fat. For some reason, people just seem to think that if you eat less and you just go super, super low on calories, that you're just going to lose fat. Unfortunately, we cannot pick and choose what our body does with that energy. And quite often, it will just go straight for eating your muscle. Whereas if you focus on that protein and fiber focus, you're going to be retaining it, which is really important for when you drop weight, creating and keeping that shape and tone. And then when we think about results, that yes, if you drop your calories really low and you actually do that, it's going to be fast, but then you're more likely to rebound the other way. Fast results don't always mean that they're going to stay. They're actually gonna more likely to go fast as well. And if we're focusing on protein and fiber, we are gonna have a slower progress, but it's gonna be more sustainable. So hopefully that kind of tips the balance for you there. So let's think about some practical swaps for protein and fiber as well. I actually did want to mention, because I did mention, I've got notes here as well, but the Professor Bill Campbell's, it was actually his 2020 study and showing that women eating high protein, so actually the top end or the top recommended range of 2.2 grams per kilo of your body weight, lost more fat and kept muscle even in a calorie deficit. So that's a point to prove there. So we're going to talk about these practical swaps for protein and fiber. So quite obvious here, just easy hacks if you like. Again, a scoop of protein in your oats, in your yogurt or your smoothie, utilizing pre-seasoned meats or tofu or tempeh or seitan or whatever it is that your go-to protein food is. And then again, thinking about snacks, again, you can have these sort of high protein wraps, Greek yogurt, etc. To ultimately, you really want to try and, well, we'll talk about that in a moment, but you want to build around the protein. And then fiber, there's nothing wrong with white carbs. There are times within, again, your nutrition where it is appropriate. But again, ideally, if we're thinking more of a fiber focus, whole grain or even the bean based options are really good. So when I say bean based, I'm talking about more pastas, for example. And again, yeah, with the bean pastas, you're going to get higher protein, but you'll also have that additional fiber too. And it goes without saying, adding berries to your meals, so your oatmeal or your yogurt and granola snacks or breakfast or whenever you have them, greens and chopped veg with every meal, so making sure that these are stocked up and chopped up so that it makes putting meals together a lot quicker and easier. And then, yeah, it's not to say, again, try the lentils, chickpeas, flaxseed, chia again in cooking and in your meals. But it's not to say that your whole meal needs to be this. It's thinking about almost creating like a Buddha style bowl where you are adding a little bit of, you know, the legumes, if you like. One thing I haven't mentioned on here is, again, if you have a look at the fiber training that we did a little while back, but maybe even thinking about some fermented foods as well can help with the fiber too. But yeah, just putting a little spoon. And again, if you're someone that's not used to legumes or they make you feel quite unsettled, try not to eat a whole bowl of it. Try and opt for like a tablespoon, just like a little bit on the side. It's going to help buff up the fiber, most importantly, and it just won't feel too like crazy on your gut as well. And then when we are tracking, again, we try this out together on sort of our live tracking calls. But when you are building out your meals, so firstly, I would always, and I've got a training on this and technical support in terms of how to do this. I would always suggest changing the MyFitnessPal labels to meal 1 through to 6, so that you're more thinking about how the order of the day goes, as opposed to going, I'm going to have a breakfast here, a lunch here, and a snack here, and a dinner here. It just kind of looks like a bit of a mishmash. And I think if we think more about how often you eat, it's sort of almost like reporting like a food diary. That's just going to be a little bit more structured, and there's sort of more focus on opportunities to have those meals recorded in that format. Hopefully that makes sense. But sort of meal 1 through to 6, because you've only got 6 labels on there, and you're not having 6 meals a day. It could be that you only have two or three, but the point is you put them in order on there and it just helps you kind of create that structure. And again, we can play around with these figures as well. So I would suggest, again, with your breakfast, for example, just trying to get a good bang for your buck. So getting that larger hit straight away first thing in the morning. So if you can kind of shoot for those 35s to 45 grams, like bang in the morning, you've kind of ticked that box, you've front loaded the protein. It's going to make the rest of the day feel less hectic and may even help with that sort of mid-morning craving or snacky time that might happen before lunch and then often puts you off lunch. So just think about sort of spreading that out over the course of the day. And then, yeah, it goes without saying, fiber, sort of 25 to 30 grams per day. Now, it's not to say that every day is going to be perfect, but this is where I would say that weekly averages for fiber is really important to look at as opposed to just looking at the daily spikes, especially if we're looking at kind of food variety as well. It's just to kind of know that generally your levels are good and they're not sitting around sort of 5 or 10 grams, believe it or not. But when I've looked at some of your food diaries, they have been, or my fitness pal trackings, they have been really, really low. And yeah, prioritize the protein first and then build and fill in the gaps. Okay, so input the protein in those different sort of meal opportunities throughout the day, and then kind of build the carbs around that, and then kind of build the fats as well. It's always best to kind of pre-plan in this situation. And one hack that I wanted to mention today. So I was thinking about this recently as well. So I am going through again. I've had a period of sort of non-tracking when I went away to Canada, and I'm back on it now. I'm back in the zone with you girls. But one of the things that I have tried doing is having more of a sort of a savory breakfast. Look, whichever way you like to do it, it's fine. But I've had, you know, more of a savory breakfast. So I'm actually having like muffins or, you know, again, having maybe even a wrap in the morning, but just restructuring your day. I'm not having my porridge oats and protein with berries first thing on purpose. And I want you to give this a go. I want you to see if it actually works for you and doing it in reverse, especially if you find that you're someone that kind of gets to the end of the day and maybe things were a bit hectic and you've ended up chucking in a snack in there. Or this is especially if you're trying to stick to your values quite stringently, but especially if you found that throughout the course of the day, you've ended up grabbing and going certain things. That last meal, if you save porridge oats, it's not the most attractive dinner, but porridge for my ladies that are single or cook lonesome, you maybe you do have a partner, but certainly if you eat on your own, I definitely eat on my own. I would save the porridge oats for the end of the day. And it's quite clever because you can really manipulate how much and how the consistency in terms of how much protein powder versus porridge oats, you can't, the ratio of it, just literally by tweaking the grams here and there, it's easier to kind of make things fit, right? To kind of fill in the gaps with your total macros for the day. So again, I might be having more protein within that meal, or I might be having less, depending on how the rest of the day's gone. Just a little hack. You could try it, see if it works for you. I know some of you ladies, it will work. For those of you that kind of do eat on your own and do your own thing. But yes, tracking helps you focus on what you're keeping and not just what you're cutting. I think this is really important because, again, quite often, if you're trying to eat mega healthy and you're trying to input your data and you're just trying to cut, I want you to kind of reframe here and think about what you're actually keeping. So I want you to think about the protein and the fiber that you're keeping and then all the other bits there as well. So you're not it's just a nice sort of way to kind of reframe your mindset around that as well. And yeah, finally, just to kind of reaffirm and just to tell you that cutting calories isn't the only way, nor is it the best way to create shifts in fat mass, because that's what we are trying to lose is body fat. It's no good sort of just dropping a shit ton of weight all at once because you're eating like a pigeon. You're just going to wind yourself up. And yeah, you don't want to deprive yourself. You want to focus on fueling your body to get you through the days and the weeks. You've got this. And the fiber is going to help you with fullness, feeling satisfied, and also your regular bowel movements. We've had some interesting discussions this or last week around bowels as well with some of you. So that will help with that. And then, yeah, protein is going to be the stuff that's going to build the body that you want. Ladies, I really hope this was helpful. What I'd like you to do is let me know what your biggest takeaway was from this. Let me know what you're going to implement, what you're going to try. And yeah, let's have a smashing week. And we will see you here next time. Thanks.